Hi guys, this is Gurneet. So in today's video, we'll be discussing some more tricks around Excel, which can be a great help in data cleaning process. So let's get started. Our first trick for today is a trim function. So a trim function under Excel is used to remove unnecessary spaces from a specific text or a cell containing a text. And its syntax goes by trim, and then under the brackets we can mention the text or the cell which we need to trim. Now let's understand this using an example. Now looking at the example, we can use the trim function and it will be more clear. Now as we can see that in this column title, the data set, the text that we see has a lot of spaces inside it and it does not look formatted. So now what we'll do is we'll come to a column F and insert a function, and we need trim, so we'll write down trim and then go. So I got my trim function. I'll double click and the text now, as I said, what text that I need to trim is the column A. So I'll write down A and the cell number 2. So it says Watership down to Watership down. Now as you can see that it has removed the unnecessary space. Now to also complete it for the other cells, what I'll do, I'll just drag it down till the 42, and you can see that it has already formatted it to and has removed all the unnecessary space. I hope this trick is clear. Coming up to our next trick, which is a VLOOKUP. So a vertical lookup is used to search for a value in a column, and it makes it effortless to look for the exact match of the value in the data set. So the syntax for VLOOKUP is VLOOKUP, and in the columns we have first the lookup value, which means that what value do we need to find. Then the second thing is the table array, which means that where do we need to find our value. So we will mention the range of our data set. Then the third is the column index number, which means in what column do we have our value in. Then the fourth is the lookup value, range lookup, which means the range. For example, it's a Boolean value, so it is true or false. So in the true, it will give us the approximate match, and in the false, it will give us the exact match. So now let's understand this VLOOKUP function using an example, and it will be more clear. Now you can see that the data set that we have is for a coffee cafe. So we have all the sizes and all the prices according to that. So let me just write down, for example, if I want to see the drip coffee, right? And I want to see the prices of all of it. So what I'll do is I'll insert function and we look up. So the what value do we need to find? It's in the A14, right? Then the table array, what is the table array? So that is the whole range of the data set. So I'll write down A, then 2, 2 till D, and then again, how many rows? 10, right? Now, what is the column index number? You can write down using, what we can do is, I'll write down 2, comma 3, comma 4. So it will give me the whole values, right? Now range lookup is false. That means I want the exact match, right? So now 1 point drip coffee is, so it's only possible to write down one column. So let me comma, and you can see that it has given me the for the tall one. Now if I want for the grande, what I'll do is instead of writing 2, I'll convert it to 3 and then again enter. So it has given me the value for 1.95, right? So now let's try for some other coffee. So if I want cappuccino, let me just paste it. So again, what is the procedure? Go to insert function, write down VLOOKUP. So now the column is A15. Table array, what is the table array? Again, the same range we want to mention. So A to till D and again 10, right? And in the column index number, we have to mention the number, which is in what size? In the 4, right? Range lookup, again, false. And you can see that the price for the cappuccino is $4.15. Now we can also try it with true. So let me just see. See, it gives us the approximate match. So let me just, so same thing. But if, for example, we didn't have 4.15 in this one and some other value, so it would have given us the approximate value. So I hope this was clear. Coming to our third trick, which is a flash fill. So a flash fill automatically fills the data in the columns when it understands a pattern. So for example, if we want to combine the values in a column, or if we want to separate the values in a column, that the flash fill will understand the pattern. We will just fill out the first row, first column, first cell, and then it will understand the pattern and it will automatically fill the other cells. So let's understand this flash fill function using our data set, and it will be more clear. Now, looking at the data set, we have many examples in which we can use the flash fill function. So coming to our first one, we have the name and we want to separate the column. So what I'll do is, first I'll go to home, then in data, we have a flash fill function. So what I'll do is, first I'll write down the first name, Gary, right? Now, using the flash fill, I will go to data, click on the next cell, and I will flash fill it. So as you can see that it has extracted the first names. Same I'll do with the last name. I'll write down Miller, and in my next cell, I will flash fill. So it has extracted all the last names. Coming to the second example, here I want to extract the email name, right? Now, how can I do this using flash function? So I'll write down the first one, Gary Miller. And the thing which we do for email ID is we write down @gmail.com. Right? Now, I have done this for this column. So I will flash fill it using my function, and you can see that it has extracted that. Now, coming to a third example in this one. So it has the first name and I want to extract the last name, right? Now I can write down using, so I'll write down here Miller, right? And I will flash fill the other things. So in the James, I'll write down Willard. In the Richard, so now you can see that it has not understood the pattern. So it's unable to, when I use the flash function, I don't know the last name here. So right, even if I try to fill out the values, it will never be able to understand the pattern. So the flash fill will not understand the pattern. As you can see, it has given me a dialog box. So I have to give him some examples for him to understand the data. So let's discuss this in this one. So as you can see that in this particular example, you can see that I will write down, we have woman or a man. So what I'll do, I'll write down here W, and in this one, I'll write down man. Now it has I have given it a pattern that for W, it's woman, and for M, it's man. So in the third one, I will just flash fill it. So what, as you can see, it has given me the exact value, right? So it's very important for the flash fill function. is that it needs to understand the pattern. Like in this example, it didn't understand the pattern, so it did not give me the desired result, right? So now in this one here, so what I'll do is I will write down just 2019. So it will understand that I have to extract the year. So I'll write down flash fill. So it has given me the year. Now coming to this one, initials. So I just want the initials in this one. So I'll write down J and space M, right? Now in this one, let's just try out if it understands the pattern. So G M, right? Now G, Gary Miller, right? Let's see if it understood. See, it understood the pattern and it gave us the desired output. So I hope this is clear. Now in this particular thing, I want the proper case. This is a function. This is a separate function from flash fill, but it is very important also. So if I, for example, in this particular pattern, you can see that the whole text format is in a mixed format. Either it's a lowercase, either it's a uppercase. So I want it in a proper format. So what I'll do is I will insert a function here to my formulas. I will insert a function and I'll write down proper, right? And I'll write down go. So it gave me the, now in the text, what is the column name? I2, right? So I'll write down I2. So let's see. Okay, it's not I2. It is, we gave it a wrong, it's I3, right? So see, it gave us the format. So let's just try drag it down and let's do it using flash fill. Let's see if it understands the format. So no. So it's a formula, so it won't understand it. Again, I will use the function here. So let me just copy it. Right? I'll write down here. So this one is I4. So proper, it will give me a proper. So I can use the drag down as well till Kim West. It has given me the proper format. So we can flash fill it as well. As you can see that if I, let me see, let's just, so if I do it till here and let me just do it flash fill. So it's not possible for me to do the flash fill, so I'll just drag it down. For the formulas, you cannot use flash fill. Just drag it down the columns, right? I hope this part is clear. Now, next trick. So coming to our fourth trick, which is highlight errors. Now, what happens is, as the name suggests, it highlights errors in a data set. So what happens when we create a report or when we create formulas in a data set to solve, like, for example, we can have sum, average, we can have a count, right? So what happens is there might be a chances that we can create some errors, like arithmetical errors, right? So to get rid of these, so get rid of those errors, what we can do, we can highlight those errors. Now the problem is when we have a small data set, it is very easier to spot those errors. But when we have a large data set, it is very difficult to go and check for every error. So what we can do is we can do it by two ways, either by conditional formatting or go to special. So now let's understand this using our data set. Now, as you can see that we have a very small data set here. So we'll understand it using a very small data set only. So you can see that this is our result and we have certain formulas in the every cell, right? Now you can see that there are certain, you can spot those errors very easily, right? Now imagine that this data set is having 1,000 rows. Now I don't think that you can have a time to check for every error. So what we'll do is we will select our data set and we'll go to conditional formatting and we'll create a new rule and format only cells that contain cell values, we can select errors, and we can also select the color that we want to highlight it. So we can just select this color and we'll write down OK. So as you can see that it has highlighted those errors where we have a problem. So it's easier to uh, look at the highlighted. Now in this particular thing, you can see that we have a issue with the function, right? So it's a divide function. Now we can easily correct it. Same goes with this. Now in this particular thing, we have an issue with the reference number. So here we can just, instead of writing up a function, we can just write 500, and when we go to click, so as you can see that our highlighted cell has been deleted and it has given me an error, right? So same goes in this one as well. Instead of writing, so we'll find out how to calculate this, right? So insert function again, I'll do, let me just, right? So I'll insert a function, more function. So what I need to do is I need to see for a divide function, right? Division. So as you can see, it has given me this. So let me just, so what is the numerator? We have to find out, wait, we have to insert a value here, right? So 50, right? Now, see, it has easily given me the value now. Same goes with every, you can just easily uh, solve these highlighted cells. Now, the second way we can do it is go to go go to special. So what I'll do is I will go to special and formulas. So I'll just click on the errors and click OK. So it has given me the, so what I can do is now I can do the totals in here also. So if I want to, now you can see that in this one we need a VLOOKUP as we discussed earlier. So as you can see that there's a issue. So let me just, table array is not the correct value. So we'll just correct it, right? And see, we have to select the whole data set, right? So A, 2 till dollar uh, the C column, right? C, and again the column 8. So, and in this one also, there's a range lookup is in false, so I can write down true, right? It will give me an approximate match and I will click on. So see, it has given me a value. Again, we have to solve this one. This is a sum y. So in this one, there is a, so let me just delete this and write down sum. So let's see. So see, now the error is that it is throwing me an error again because the string one, the item one is a string value. So I will write down a value here. So if I calculate this now, it has given me the value. Again, in this one, it is again a different thing. So we can do it by quotient. So I will remove this. So what we can do, right? Whatever you need. right? So now you can see that our data set is now clear of all those errors. So I hope highlighting error function is clear. Coming up to our last trick, which is data validation. So data validation is a feature that allows you to control the type of data that needs to be entered in your worksheet, meaning that it will restrict you to enter any invalid data into your cell. For instance, if I have a data set and I want to enter a particular value which is greater than 80, so I will use a data validation in a way that I will restrict the data which is greater than 80 to be entered in my worksheet. Now let's understand this data validation function in our Excel sheet using a example. Now, in this particular sheet, I have two statements. First, I want to restrict user to enter a whole number between a 0 and 20. And second, I have a user IDs and I want them to enter a password, right? Now, what I'll do is, let me just clear all the formatting if there is, right? Now, first is I need to enter a restrict, right? So what I'll do is I will go to data, and you can see there is a data validation, right? So a dialog box will open up. So in this one, I will write down, I want a text length, right? So what I'll do is, I can write down whole number as well. So I want a data between, right? So I'll select a whole number, and in the minimum value, the value will be 0, and in the maximum, I'll write down 20, right? And the input message, what I want it to mention here is enter value will be the title, and in the input message it will display that enter value in given range, right? So it has given me the range. I have already mentioned the range. So if someone inputs a greater than value, so what I'll it will the error alert will be invalid value, right? So then again, I can just copy it, enter value in a given range. I can just Control C and display it in my error message, and I'll just click OK. Now you can see that it has given me a title, enter value, and enter value in a given range. So let me just write down 15. So it has been displayed, right? Now, for example, if I write down 28, so as you can see, it has given me an error saying enter value in a given range, right? So I'll retry it and write down 14. So it is now clear. Now coming up to our next statement, which is a user ID. So for that, I want them, for example, if I have a very sensitive data, so I want them to write up a password which is just which has certain length, right? So what I can do is I will select all these cells and okay, it hasn't so let me just, I have already let clear all. So I will clear this all. Okay. Now what I'll do is in this one, I will select the text length, right? So it will be a text length between, rather than between, I can just write down equal to, right? So the text length should be 10, not more than 10. Anything, any password more than 10 will be throwing an error, right? So the input message will be enter password, right? And the error alert will be incorrect password, right? And the error message will display what do you want it to display? Uh, Password entered is invalid, right? So let me just write down. So what I'll do is I'll write down password. So it is very much clear now. But for example, if I do this, so as you can see, it has given me an error. Password entered is invalid. So I'll retry it, right? So I will delete it to this one and I'll write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, it is still not. So again 0. So now you can see that password has been entered, right? Again, in this one also we can do the same thing, right? Throwing an error. So you can see that whatever value I type, it will give me an error, right? So we can just check its condition as well. You can also go ahead and check its condition. So in this one, the password length is 12, right? So let me just write up a value which has a 1, 2, 3, 4. So see, it has given me a value, right? So I hope this is clear that you can use data validation and you can restrict the data if it has a certain condition.
Thanks for watching. We'll come up with more videos on tips and tricks around Excel, which can help you in your interviews and advance your learning. So, stay tuned and keep following for more.